Yes, we're live. So welcome everybody to yet another live interview show with Become a Fearless Father and my guest. And that's why I'm so excited. Robb Quinn, baby. Woo!
What is up? What is up?
That's what's going on. Yeah, I get excited. Why?
Are we about to get this?
I told you, Rob, I'm sorry. I said, we're going to start with a question. I'm going to actually start with a quick story for everybody to get, Robb Quinn was at the event where I was at. Now, I was participant. I was sitting there taking notes, going crazy. I'm like, wow, this is insane. And Robb Quinn comes up and he shares his story. I'm like, heck yeah. And I meet the guy and I'm like, Rob, man, that was an amazing, fantastic presentation. I loved it. Dude, you got kids? And the guy's looking at me like, that's a weird question to ask as your first question. He said yes, though. And I said, dude, man, I would love to have you on my show. And as you can see, he said yes. So let's get going. Man, I saw that video, right, that was shared of you in a closet and just, sharing your value with the world and try to make it up. And now you're sitting here. Where you at now? 6, 7 figures almost?
Yeah, closing on 7.
Exactly, right? So we go from closet to closing on 7. My mom was like, this is awesome. I got to know what the secret is. So share with us, man, what was that journey like? And most importantly, what's like the biggest nugget that you can share with us that everybody should know, being like, dude, man, everybody can do this as long as you do X, whatever the X is.
Yeah, I would say it's that you're closer than you think you are.
Nice.
Yeah. So a lot of the time, like, it's just, for some reason, it's a universal thing that when you're about to break through to the next level, the universe just starts to plow you with all of these different things. So a lot of the time at the same time. And I like to look at it as like, this is a universe basically just testing you to see if you really want it. Because what happens is, like, as you're getting into that next level, it's not that it's harder. It's just that at the time it's hard because it's a brand new experience you're breaking through. Kind of like playing a video game. If you play a video game and you've never played, Atari before, which really probably none of this generation has, the new generation, right? If you were asked them to play it, it might feel confusing at first and they might lose on level 1, the easiest level that there is, just because they're still trying to figure out the controls.
Exactly.
But once they're able to figure out the controls, they could do level 1 blindfolded. So really, that's how I see, like, the game of life and the game of business is pretty much like playing a video game. Is that level 1's only hard because you're still figuring out the controls. So that's what it feels like when you are starting to get to the next level, and you're closer than you think you are, because it really is as simple as just figuring out those controls and knowing that you're just learning something new, and that the majority of people don't make it this far because they don't want to work through all that headache and heartache and sacrifice. And it does take risk. It was a lot of risk starting my business. So
and when you talk about controls, is that for everybody when they're at that level, right? Like, let's call it ground zero, right? Is that control, or those controls, are they the same? I mean, if I use a PlayStation and you do as well, the controls are the same, right? Is that like we're all playing on a PlayStation, or are we all playing, one is playing on a PlayStation, the other one's playing on a Nintendo, the other one is playing on whatever else there is? I don't know, man. I'm not good with these things.
I would probably say that I wouldn't even call it a gaming system. It's probably one universal system, and level 1 is level 1. That's probably how I would look at it.
All right. So the controls pretty much are for everybody the same.
Right, exactly. Because even though the situations are different, it requires the same type of mindset to understand that this is going to be hard, but that's okay. I'm not going to like a lot of this, but that's okay. And it requires the same level of mindset.
All right, we'll get into that later on, because mindset is huge.
Yeah.
And I definitely want you to share more about that. What's your daily, actually, this is going to be my question for Sir Richard Branson when I get him on the show. I said, when? I'm not signing anything yet. I haven't heard from him yet, but I'm freaking visualizing it. 2020, he's going to come on the show. Anyway, that's one of my questions, is like, what do you do in regards to your mindset every single day? We'll hop back to that later. First, Rob, do me a huge favor. Share with us a little bit more about those humble beginnings, about your background story, right? And I always like the full picture. So what's your family setup look like so people can get an understanding of how crazy it all is with taking care of the kids and et cetera, right?
Yeah. So it goes way back. I've had a lot of rocky ups and downs from the time that my kids were born because I was a really young father. I was, I believe, 21, 2021. What is it? So I was 21. And and I've always been an entrepreneur for the most part, in the way that I did everything or when I did own businesses. So there's a lot of history behind that, but I'll start my history at when I launched my agency when I was 25 and what that looked like because we've all been in a 9-to-5 or the majority of us have been in a 9-to-5 and we know how scary it is to be able to lose that security. And the thing with entrepreneurs, and really, I don't want to say what makes us reckless as fathers being entrepreneurs, is that we would choose freedom over security every single time. And the problem with that is we now have other people to consider whenever we make those decisions for ourselves.
True.
And what makes it hard is that we justify it because we say, well, yeah, I wouldn't want my kids to see me unhappy. So that's why I'm going to do this so they could see that you can chase your dreams and be happy. But what happens, to your kids as a byproduct? Like, so all these things are running through our mind as we chase this dream of entrepreneurship. And we're going to get into this later, like the different levels of mindset, because really when you leave a 9-to-5, you go from 9-to-5er employed to self-employed to business owner. And that transition going into business owner is just as difficult and just as scary as going from 9-to-5er employed to self-employed. So we'll get into that in a little bit. So I'll backpedal a little bit to the origin story. But when I was let go from my 9-to-5 for a series of different things that didn't relate to performance, I've always been hard-headed. And when I was let go, I started my own, at the time, it was a social media marketing agency. So at the time I launched that and we got to 10K a month within 90 days. But the problem was some of my clients from the Yellow Pages had come over to my company. So the Yellow Pages hit me with a cease and desist on December 23rd of 2017, or excuse me, 2017. And so basically what that means is it's a letter to threaten to sue you if you don't drop the clients that you have and stop what you're doing.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So it was pretty crazy. I actually ran it by my attorney at the time and he's like, this is like a real thing. 'Cause I've never heard of a cease and desist before that. So anyway, I had dropped all my clients and I had gotten an offer. At the time, my parents were freaking out because I just moved into a nice apartment. I have the new car, all this stuff. And they were freaking out because they're like, well, what are you going to do for money now? And so I got a great job offer. They offered me $250,000 to manage their district sales team for security systems. And my family was super pumped for me. Like I was going to have to go in though at 6 a.m. and be there till 6 p.m. So they were 12-hour days. And $250,000 a year is a lot of money. I don't care who or what you are. And, but the thing is, I don't know what it was, what flipped the switch that day for me. But when he offered that to me, the first thing I asked him is like, is that negotiable? Because part of me wanted to ask for more. And he's like, no, do you think you're not going to perform? And all this, I was like, no, I just wouldn't know if I didn't ask. And he just laughed and he's like, it's a great question. He introduced me to the whole team. They offered me the job. They wanted to bring me on. And I told him I had to think about it. And I remember going home and I was at my mom's house because at the time I didn't have internet because we had like, I lost my job. I don't have any money. We have just enough for like macaroni and ramen. This is January now, or we're closing in on January 2018. Or it's the first week. It was one of the two. It was like right in that small little window. And my mom was freaking out. She saw me at her house on the computer. She's like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I think I'm going to do something else. And she's like, what? I was like, yeah, like at the end of the day, Like if he offered me $250,000, nobody ends with their starting bid and nobody's willing to pay you what you're worth. So if he offered me $250,000 that was non-negotiable, that means that I'm worth a lot more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So he saw something in me that maybe I didn't see in myself yet, because I just left a company at the Yellow Pages where I'm making $100,000 a year at 25 years old, and because of sales. And even before that, when I was working in the gym industry selling gym memberships, I was making $75,000 a year since I was 22 selling gym memberships. I knew that there's something there. I knew that I had some level of skill set, and then maybe I didn't truly understand it. So I told my mom that. She was super pissed. She was so mad because at the time I was like going through my mom's cupboards to get food because like I didn't have any. And she was super mad. She's like, why are you doing this? Like, because I've started other ventures before that did not pan out. And I opened my first storefront when I was 20 years old. It tanked in 8 months. And so anyway, she's seen all of this. And so I relaunched my social media marketing company. I have a different LLC, so this way they can't sue me. I dropped all the clients, and I finally picked up one client. First of all, I had to sell everything, like a bunch of stuff in my house. So a lot of stuff that was important to me just to get enough money to be able to drive to appointments. Because at the time, I didn't know I could do this stuff virtually. So I'm driving to these appointments, cold calling businesses, which the video you saw out of that utility closet.
Yep.
Because my buddy's friend's mom owned a building she worked out of, and then the only spot that was available there was this utility closet that didn't have any extra noise and still had Wi-Fi. So that's where I called out of. So because I didn't have internet. So I'm calling these businesses, and I finally pick up a client for $1,000 a month management fee. And he actually told me no, because I pitched him $60,000. And so $4,000 a month management fee plus ads. And it was on a 12-month contract. So he said no. I shot him an email. I was like, I'm telling you right now, do 300 in ads, do $1,000 to pay me to manage it, which in some people's minds would be like, what? How did you even get that? And I told him, I was like, you pay me this, and I will show you a higher return on ad spend than any company has ever shown you within the first 2 weeks. Because I knew enough about ads at the time to be able to see that this company is doing, a few $1 million a year, and there's one they don't have set up. I can plug that hole, and then I'm just going to pick money up off the ground that they already dropped. So all I did was went in, I set that up, and I did. I showed him a 636% return in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Yep. And then he hired me full time, and I took that result, and I did what I refer to as a launch pad method, where I took that result and then I pitched other people in the industry across the country, and I landed 3 more clients. So then I scaled my agency to $12,500 a month in 60 days.
Nice.
That's when I knew. I was like, whoa, I do have this thing figured out. Maybe I can help people do this. So by this time I started a YouTube channel in December. So my YouTube channel is building. And then I just put a little opt-in link at the bottom of my YouTube descriptions. So people could opt in for this new product I was looking to launch, and ended up doing a soft launch in April. So 100 people enrolled. I picked out 7, and all 7 of those people I helped land their first client in the first 2 days. So then I was like, well, this is definitely a thing. And then from there, it's kind of all history. From there, we've scaled the business. Within our first 8 months, we scaled to $42,000 a month, and we've just been building since. Now we have a team of 13.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty crazy though. The origin was tough because you have to bet on yourself so much to have the mindset, but then also you always have that lingering darkness in the back of your mind, like, if I fail, my kids are going down with me. It's kind of like a selfish mindset in a way, but also it's that against all odds mentality. So it's really hard to know like where that line's at as an entrepreneurial father, because we believe in ourselves enough to be like, I will make this happen one way or the other. But then you always have that outside voice or that voice in the back of your head, and it's like, well, what if I don't? So that was the origin.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Now you mentioned how many kids you got? 2?
It's yep.
Yeah. What a finger. I got lost too, man. And I sit here every day, go live. So I'm still lost. 2, man. That's awesome. All right, cool. Man, that's some story. I love that. So that ties in right with the next question, man, that we were talking about earlier, right? You mentioned like mindset was a big thing, right? And I think many a person would have just said the same thing as your mom. You're absolutely nuts. They're probably freaking right. We're not taking $250,000. Everybody be like, that's safety right there. I love it.
Yep.
So what have you been doing to make sure that, because you had dark days probably like everybody else does. What's your strategy? What's your system to make sure that, your mindset grows and becomes stronger and stronger?
Yeah. So what I've come to learn is that in business, it's not just about managing KPIs, which are like the metrics, performance metrics.
Mm-hmm.
In order to optimize your business to make it better, you can do the same thing with your emotions. And a lot of the time when people wake up, they wake up either in a bad mood or a good mood.
Mm-hmm.
And those are your options, right? Or maybe you have like a neutral mood, whatever. But you wake up and the majority of people leave their day up to chance to whatever that initial emotion is.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you can alter that initial emotion is to be able to anchor yourself back into a feeling of whenever you felt your best.
Mm-hmm.
So my strategies for that is when I wake up, I always make sure that I have an identity map that I look over. This is a compilation of everything that I want, everything that I'm doing, and everything that I have done. So this is me talking in the third person about myself. Rob will have, and then I list it out and in detail. Mm-hmm. So I like to forecast that about my future. And then everything I'm doing now, Rob is and is known as. And then I like to have something else say Rob has, and then whatever I've done before. Like he has 2 beautiful kids that he's very proud of. He is an active father. He is, and going on and on about like successes that I've had and all of that. So I'm able to look at that every morning and know, here's where I'm going, here's where I'm at, here's what I've done. And then the next page is a vision board of what my future looks like or what I want to have some type of model of. Mm-hmm. So it's a vision board. A lot of people can hang it up. I suggest to hang it up. I don't do that. I probably should. All of mine is in a Google Doc on a PDF sheet. Mm-hmm. And the next sheet is rules. So rules that you follow in order to make sure that you become the person that's on that vision board and in your forecast. And then on top of that, you have rules that are your don'ts. So not only rules, I will do this. So for example, like I will read this amount of time per day, this amount of books per month. I will go to sleep at this hour. I will do this. I will do that. And then you have rules of I will not stay up past midnight. Mm-hmm. I will not drink more than 1 or 2 drinks socially. I will not. So because whatever doesn't align with the forecast and the vision board, because what we're doing right now, the same way in business that I reverse engineer my entire year mm-hmm. down to what I need to do per month, down to what needs to be done per day. I do the same thing with my life. So mm-hmm. I like to go, here's where I want to go, forecast in the future. Here's what I need to do, which are my rules in order to get there. Mm-hmm. So I have daily rules. And then I have affirmations. So then affirmations are the next page under the rules. So I look at all of that. And then I also like to read in the morning. So actually, mm-hmm. this is the book right now. Actually, I read 2 books a month. So my books I'm reading right now are these 2. First one is Dare to Lead by Brené Brown.
Uh-huh.
And the second one is Best Self by Mike Baer.
Nice.
And these are really powerful books. You guys pick it up. I dare somebody to go through this book and not make it through 50 pages without questioning your entire existence and your why. So it's a workbook / read book. But anyway, so I like to read in the morning. And the reason why isn't just because I like to read and like to learn. It's because when I read in the morning before the entire world, the majority of the average person, I say the term average person, it's not to talk down or it's not to like segregate. It's because there are average actions and then there's above average actions and mm-hmm. there's below average actions. So that whatever amount of action, intentional action you're taking will end up molding the type of person that you become. And it's okay to be average, because like my brother, one of my best friends, and the dude is, in the terms of his lifestyle and what he has and what he wants out of life, is average in comparison to society. Right? But he's an amazing dude, an amazing husband. Like, he's a great person. So average isn't a bad thing. But for me, I get like bored with that type of lifestyle and everything. So that's why I use that term. But before the world wakes up and the normal person wakes up, I like to read, because I've already had a win. So I have already actually been able to chalk my day up to moving the needle forward, regardless of how the rest of the day goes. And I'm not distracted by the nuances of the world, because they haven't woken up yet to bother me.
And what's that time? Just out of curiosity.
I get up at 5:30, between 5:30 and 6, ideally 5:30, but 6. I tried the cold shower thing and couldn't get into it. Couldn't get into it. The sun rises here around 7:30.
Okay.
I have like a spot to where I like to sit and I meditate.
Oh,
so,
nice.
So by the time I've already showered, I've eaten, I'm able to, and I've read, I've already had time to meditate. And then after that, I start getting into work. So, and by work, I mean, like, I'd like to check all my emails. I message my team. I like to go over different statements, whether it's KPIs, different in and out money for cash flow, like, so I can monitor everything. So I do all that between 8 and 9. And then lately, 9 o'clock through like 5 o'clock has been meetings and tasks to finish, just because we have so many projects we're working on. But in terms of my morning, that's what my morning looks like, because I have a routine and I work out every day. I believe in mind, body, spirit, and spirit isn't about necessarily religion. Like, I'm non-dominational, but at the same time, like, my meditation helps me realign with my best self. So.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I love that. It's so important. I've been taking notes, and some things I'm like, oh, I'm doing that too. That's awesome. So I wake up exactly at 5:30 every morning.
The other thing I've started throwing in is journaling.
And journaling as well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I keep hearing people like, oh, you got to wake up at 4 a.m. And I tried that. I'm like, that's the same as a cold shower. It's like, for me, not working. Nope. So everybody else is working it for. It's the same with the average people. If it's working for you, good. Keep doing that stuff. If it's not, find something else. That's what I did. So 5:30, man, I love that.
Some people don't drink. Like that's just not me. Like, I love drinking wine at night. Like, I love wine. But I don't like get drunk on wine. I just like wine.
Exactly. Yeah, I can understand that. Or drinking water from,
mason jars. Yeah.
He's actually drinking moonshine, people.
Yeah. Everyone talks about that, 'cause I'm from Kansas. So they're like, is that where you cook your moonshine? I'm like, yep.
Exactly. That's awesome, man. All right. Time went fast, man. Let's see if we can get in a small question. Yeah, man. Just what would be something that you would absolutely love to share with any entrepreneur dad out there that you think would change their life if they start implementing it today?
Yeah. So I'm gonna lean towards a mindset piece, because technique, which is composed of like, it's composed of 3 different things, but like, technique is one thing. To be able to have tactics and strategy and personal like presence, because those all compose of technique. Like, all of that is really important, but none of that matters unless you have attitude, because the success triangle is composed of attitude, behavior, and technique. One follows the other, and it creates the perfect symphony. So it starts with attitude before your behavior, which behavior, the byproduct of that is like action and planning. So, but before you can actually take action, you need the right attitude. So my advice is going to be to stay the course and to fall in love with the process, because if you do, the process will be good to you. So stay the course, and make sure that people that you're following have actually done what you're looking to do. They've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, they have what you want. But more importantly, this is the thing that most people miss, is that they follow somebody that has one thing that they want.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that's what creates major burnout, because that person may not have the entire spectrum of the success triangle, right? They may just be about business. They may work all the time, and like you may not know it, but their home life might suck.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying like people's home lives are perfect, besides people that work a lot, because everybody has their complications. I'm saying that in the sense of they don't prioritize their family, or they justify working this much because it provides for their family, when in reality it's because they enjoy it more. Because I used to be that person to be like, because like when you're making 75 grand selling gym memberships, you're there all the time. And I would be there all the time, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm doing this to support us. Yeah, I'm doing this so I can get you this. I'm doing this so we can go do that. I'm doing this for our future. When in reality, like, the future is going to happen, and you're going to, like, if you can be happy now and be happy each day moving forward, because like everybody has their needs met, it doesn't matter if you have the nice things and all that stuff. We do it because we want it, and we're justifying that the entire family wants it too.
True. And that's top notch. Love it. That's great extra insight for all my fellow entrepreneur dads to take action upon and think about, right? We've come to the end, man. I love it. So thank you so much for being on, Rob. Really appreciate you taking time. I know how crazy busy you are. So again, really appreciate it. Everybody else is watching. Make sure press that heart button. Share this, right, with all your friends. I'm telling you, just the part about mindset is worth your time investigating a bit more. And most importantly, start implementing, because it will definitely change your life. Anyway, thanks, everybody. Talk to you very soon with the next live. For now, have an amazing rest of the day. Take care.
Later.